On the stage of Duel of Flavors, the country's most competitive cooking show, the air crackled with rivalry. On one side, Helena, the ice queen of high cuisine, with her immaculate chef's coat and an expression of pure concentration. For her, cooking was an exact science. On the other, Sofia, the vibrant soul of street food, with a contagious smile and a style that was pure passion. For her, cooking was a celebration. They were the two most famous chefs in the city, and they didn't hide the contempt they felt for one another. The studio lights shone as they faced off. "I hope you brought more than just street spice today, Sofia." Helena jabbed, her voice cold and precise. Sofia laughed, the sound filling the studio. "And you, Helena, did you bring anything besides a protractor to measure your dishes? People eat to feel something, not to admire geometry." The tension was palpable. They were oil and water, technique versus soul, and the battle was about to begin. The host smiled at the camera. "Chefs, welcome! This season we have a twist that will test your limits like never before." He took a dramatic pause. Helena and Sofia looked at each other, their eyes sparking with competitive anticipation. "You will not be competing against each other," the host declared, his voice echoing. "You will be competing together. Helena and Sofia, you are our first team." The audience gasped. The camera zoomed in on the two chefs' faces. Helena's confidence crumbled, replaced by horrified shock. Sofia's radiant smile vanished, giving way to pure disbelief. Declared rivals, forced to work together. It was a recipe for disaster. Sometimes life forces us to unite with someone who seems to be our complete opposite, revealing parts of ourselves we didn't know existed. If you've ever lived a love you had to hide or felt you needed a mask to be accepted, subscribe and comment with your story below. You are not alone. "My fault?" Sofia retorted, her voice trembling with frustration, not fear. "I cooked with heart, Helena. You cooked with a calculator. At least my side of the plate had flavor." Helena turned, her eyes flashing. "Flavor without discipline is chaos. Your plate was a mess." They faced each other, one step away from an explosion, but exhaustion and the threat of elimination hung over them. It was Sofia who gave in first, running her hands through her hair. "Look, this isn't working," she said, her voice calmer. "We can keep blaming each other and get eliminated next week, or we can actually try." The proposal hung in the air. For Helena, trusting Sofia's impulsive passion was unthinkable. For Sofia, submitting to Helena's rigidity was suffocating, but the alternative was defeat. "One dish," Helena said finally. "We'll try to make one dish together." The next challenge was announced: tradition and innovation. It was the perfect theme for them. In the kitchen, the atmosphere was different, tense but not hostile. They discussed a concept, a classic dish Sofia's grandmother used to make, but deconstructed and reinvented with Helena's avant-garde techniques. For the first time, they watched each other. Sofia saw the way Helena's fingers moved with an almost supernatural skill, turning a simple vegetable into a work of art. Helena saw how Sofia closed her eyes when tasting a sauce, adjusting the seasoning not with measurements, but with an innate understanding of what the dish needed. A reluctant respect began to bloom. In one moment, Sofia passed her an ingredient before Helena even asked for it. In another, Helena adjusted the heat under Sofia's pan to the perfect temperature. They found a rhythm, a silent dance of skill and instinct. The dish they presented left the judges speechless. It was visually stunning, and the flavor was a wave of nostalgia and surprise. "This," said the head judge, his eyes closed, "this is harmony, a victory." Backstage, the adrenaline of the win broke the tension. Sofia let out a loud, relieved laugh, and Helena, to both of their surprise, smiled. A small, genuine smile that transformed her face. Their eyes met in the middle of the team celebration, and for an instant, the noise faded away. The rivalry had given way to something new, something warm and dangerous that neither of them had expected. First challenge was announced: reimagined comfort food. Sofia smiled. This was her territory. Helena maintained her neutral expression, but her eyes shone with contempt for the theme's simplicity.
"Your time starts now," the host shouted. The chaos began. Sofia ran to the pantry, her intuition guiding her to fresh, vibrant ingredients. Helena, on the other hand, walked methodically, grabbing a precision scale and surgical tongs. Their philosophies collided at the center of the workstation. "Comfort food needs heart, a memory, not a ruler," Sofia argued, holding up a ripe tomato. "The heart is messy. Perfection comes from discipline," Helena retorted, measuring a pinch of saffron with manic precision. Their kitchen became a silent battlefield. On one side, Sofia cooked with a dancing energy, tasting and adjusting with passion. On the other, Helena operated with the cold precision of a scientist. Every cut and every temperature controlled to the millimeter. They didn't communicate, they just competed for space. The result, presented to the judges, was a reflection of the chaos. A dish split down the middle. On one side, Helena's creation, a geometrically perfect portion, technically flawless, but cold. On the other, Sofia's, an explosion of color and aroma, delicious, but visually messy. The judge's verdict was brutal. "This looks like two dishes from two chefs who hate each other," said the head judge. "There is no harmony, no partnership. It is a failure." The word failure hung over Helena and Sofia like a sentence. They came in last place, narrowly avoiding elimination. Backstage, away from the cameras, the silence was heavy and accusatory. Helena polished her knives with a contained fury. Sofia stared into space, her usual energy completely drained. Finally, Helena broke the silence, her voice low and sharp. "This is your fault." The finale of Duel of Flavors arrived. The rivalry between Helena and Sofia had become the central story of the season, a journey from hatred to an unbeatable partnership. The final theme was announced: create a dish that tells your story. They looked at each other, and for the first time, there was no panic or conflict, only a silent understanding. They knew exactly what to do. In the kitchen, they weren't two chefs, they were one. Their movements were a synchronized dance, a ballet of knives and flames. They moved in perfect harmony, anticipating each other's needs, finishing each other's sentences. The kitchen, once a battlefield, had become their sanctuary. The professional tension had been completely replaced by a romantic tension that was almost palpable. In one moment, their hands touched as they both reached for the same ingredient, and an electric current passed between them, making them both blush and look away. The dish they created was their story. A hot and a cold element, a precise technical base with an explosion of wild, passionate flavor. Two opposites that together created a perfect balance. As they presented it, Helena spoke of the importance of discipline, and Sofia spoke of the need for passion. And they both concluded, and how sometimes one cannot truly shine without the other. They won. The studio exploded in applause and confetti. They hugged on stage, a hug that lasted just a little longer than professionally acceptable. Later, backstage, after the crowd had dispersed, they stood alone, the trophy gleaming between them. The silence was filled with everything that had been left unsaid. "I don't think the competition was ever about the food," Helena said, her voice soft. "No? Then what was it about?" Sofia took a step forward, closing the distance between them. "About finding the missing ingredient." Her gaze was intense and vulnerable. Sofia raised her hand and caressed Helena's face. In that quiet dressing room, away from the cameras and the judges, they finally surrendered to the recipe they had created together. The kiss was sweet, victorious, and the beginning of everything.